Dr. Hyman, always a pleasure to have you here on Health Connection. We have a topic here that's in your wheelhouse, curing cancer, dreaming or doable. And we brought this segment forward because President Obama here recently said that we're going to launch an Apollo lunar landing like effort to cure cancer, and he's assigned Joe Biden to the task. Is that challenge realistic or not?
It is both. There are some cancers that are on the verge of being cured or changed to a chronic disease, and there are some cancers that may never be cured, at least with the current technologies. But there have been some exciting new technologies that have appeared in the last couple of years, and especially the immune checkpoint inhibitors, a whole new class of cancer therapy that unleashes the body's own power to try to control cancer cells. It has made a huge impact in some cancers and may really have the beginnings of a new generation of drugs for us to use in our fight.
You said cancers.
Right.
There's no such thing really as cancer as a singular disease,
There are
correct?
hundreds of different types of cancers and different subtypes, and cancers mutate as they grow. So every cancer is an individual, as individual as the person that has it.
Well, giving some color to what you just said and it answered our first question, there's no question that treatment of cancer has improved dramatically since 1971 when President Nixon first declared war on cancer. Give us some specifics about what you were just talking about, the things that have really, really dramatically come along.
Well, one of the most dramatic changes, aside from these new drugs, is the emphasis on early detection and also on prevention. And so we are shifting the paradigm of many cancers being found only at late stage. We are seeing some cancers increasing in how early they are being discovered, and the earlier a cancer is discovered, the much more curable that it is. Mammography is one, cervical cancer screening, the vaccine against the human papillomavirus to prevent infection with the virus that causes the cancer in the first place. All of these things are new since 1971 and are making great strides. Still tremendously underutilized in certain populations. We have a lot more work to do in all of those arenas, but it's very exciting that we might prevent the development of cancers in a larger and larger part of our population.
Okay. What cancers have shown the most improvement in terms of survivorship or improved life expectancy?
Well, it depends on if you're looking for absolute growth in life expectancy or percentage growth, but it's easier to talk about the cancers that are still so hard to treat. Certain lung cancers, although there is a great impact of these new immune checkpoint inhibitors in lung cancers, melanoma is in the process of being changed from a very devastating disease to one that might become a chronic disease or actually be cured. That is one of the best success stories that we have.
How close are we on that?
We may be there with the first generation of immune checkpoint inhibitors. We'll do better with the subsequent generations, I suspect.
What are the most effective new tools that you have right now to fight cancer?
Well, that is the most exciting new tool, are these new immune checkpoint inhibitors. And I think capitalizing on the body's own immune system to fight the cancer is going to be this decade's new wave, whether it be with those drugs or with vaccines. I think there's a lot of exciting stuff on the horizon.
Conversely, there's a couple of cancers that really strike terror into your heart as soon as you hear the diagnosis. Lung cancer being one of them, pancreatic cancer being another. Why are some cancers so difficult to treat?
Well, lung cancer may be out of that realm soon with these new drugs, although one of the problems with lung cancer is that the behaviors that increase your risk for developing lung cancer, namely smoking and exposure to certain toxins in the workplace or in the environment, tend to cause a lot of other comorbidities like advanced emphysema, coronary artery disease, and so the host is not a very strong host to withstand whatever treatment you might give. Pancreatic cancer just doesn't tend to present at an early stage. It's in a part of the body that is so deep and so poorly fed by sensory nerves that symptoms don't occur until the cancer is very advanced. So it's very common for it to present at stage 3 or stage 4 when surgery in curative form is just not possible. and it's just a tough cancer. It doesn't respond to our standard therapies. These new drugs are on the verge of exploding in indications to include gastrointestinal cancers, so there may be a change in that story within the next couple of years.
Interesting. Back in the day, when I was a kid, the new buzzwords for groundbreaking cancer treatments were chemotherapy and radiation therapy. Looking toward the future, and you've touched on this a little bit, what are the most promising treatments that you see?
Well, there's some great advances in radiation therapy with increasing precision and delivery of the dose to the target and less damage to surrounding tissues. In the old days, radiation was a big box with the cancer in the middle. Now it has evolved into, at first, a glove, now a mitten around the cancer. But there's new types of therapy like proton therapy with very limited indications currently and outrageously expensive currently, but may evolve into something that's much more broadly used, that has very, very precise dose delivery and much less in the way of side effects. Chemotherapy, I think, has reached its peak. You can alter poison so many ways, but you're still going to damage the host while you're damaging the cancer, and you have to hope that the host gets better faster than the cancer, and that's how chemotherapy can succeed in some cases. Another new adaptive cellular therapy, a whole new class of approaches, are these CAR T cells that take your own T lymphocytes and add a receptor to it to attack a particular receptor that's largely expressed only on the cancer cells. Very successful in early studies in leukemias and a couple of solid tumors. Very toxic still in its first generation. But I think as we get better at building the molecules to attack those particular cells, finding the right receptors to engineer the attack against, and reducing side effects, there'll be much broader indication. That again is a way of taking your own immune system and annihilating the cancer and hopefully ignoring the fact that there's a host around it. So you deliver a very strong attack against the cancer without destroying or weakening the host.
That's interesting. How important are clinical trials in curing cancer?
Well, clinical trials are extremely important. It's proven in the pediatric population, where more than half of the pediatric cancer patients get on a clinical trial, that their success rates are greater than in adult cancer patients. Now, there's a lot of differences between pediatric and adult cancer, so it's just not that simple as the more people that get on trials, the better the cancer outcomes are going to be. But their speed of improvement seems to be faster than in adults. Only about 5% of adults get on clinical trials.
You've participated in a large number of clinical trials over your career.
Mm-hmm.
Looking back, what are some of the most important research successes that you've been part of?
Well, one of the biggest was in the adjuvant treatment of breast cancer. A new chemo combination proved, in one of the few studies that actually prove an improvement in life expectancy in cancer patients, was a study that we participated in the early 90s. Compared two combinations of chemotherapy in women with breast cancer in the preventative phase right after surgery. Mm-hmm. That was really exciting.
Okay. What cancers are showing the most promise for finding a cure in the future?
Well, the list is growing almost by the week as these new drugs are being tested in more and more cancers. But I think the leukemias and lymphomas are going to be eminently curable. I think that melanoma is going to show us great successes. I think the ones that are more caused by lifestyle choices are going to be a bigger challenge, because we have external toxins that alter the patient to some degree, that predispose them to their cancer, along with whatever genetic factors might have determined their susceptibility to those external toxins. So I think that's an additional challenge to overcome.
Okay. What are the roadblocks that we face?
Funding is a huge roadblock. This new Moonshots program has promised us not an unending source of money, but a large amount of money, and not all of it has been uncovered in terms of where it's coming from. So that's a challenge for the politicians. And then wider availability of clinical trials and wider acceptance of patients to get on clinical trials are all obstacles. There's plenty of scientists working on these new approaches that I don't think the science is the limit right now.
Generally, in yours and my lifetime, survival rates have improved dramatically.
Somewhat, mostly by making them earlier stage when discovered.
All right. Are you optimistic that survival rates will continue to improve, and will we ever ultimately get to the moon and cure cancer?
I don't think we'll ever cure all cancer. I still think in 50 years there'll be people dying of cancer, but I think the numbers will be far less.
Okay, very interesting. Doctor, learned a lot as always. Thank you.
Thank you.